Technology wouldn't be a thing if ancient inventors hadn't come up with old school innovations. You won't believe some of the things we take for granted that started off centuries ago. I'm about to invent a whole new reason for you to watch List 25, because I'm Mike with List 25, and here are 25 old school innovations that put modern tech to shame. But before we begin, don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe with that notification bell. It truly helps the channel. And also, let us know what other history videos you'd like to see next. With all that said, let's go. 25. Roman concrete. Concrete isn't really a modern thing. I mean, the recipe goes back centuries. In ancient Rome, they used pozzolana, better known as ash from volcanoes. Other stuff in the mix included calcium oxide or lime, rock, and rubble and seawater. That sounds great, but surely our present-day concrete is better, right? Nope. The ingredients are pretty similar, but this ancient building material has the edge. In fact, the old stuff is more resistant to corrosion, plus it can be better for the environment as it releases less CO2. Romans didn't invent concrete, however, they were innovators with the stuff, making it a permanent fixture of construction projects and leaving a legacy we rely on today. 24. Egyptian blue. Synthetic pigments are everywhere in our clothes, but where did the first such pigment come from? The surprising answer is ancient Egypt. Their legendary Egyptian blue coloring has been traced back to approximately 2500 BCE. You saw it on building tiles, artworks, and other creations from that time. So how did they make it? The main part of the process is heat. Scalding temperatures of 850 to 1000 Celsius are applied to sand, lime, copper compounds, and something called an alkali flux, which is designed to lower the melting point. Another amazing thing about Egyptian blue is how it's lasted through the centuries. Its durable properties have helped modern science construct light-emitting technology for use in medical imaging. 23. Wootz Steel. There's a famous type of steel known as Damascus steel, which was super strong and used by swordsmen in the Middle East. However, behind Damascus steel was another steel called Wootz. The name comes from the Tamil word uruku, which refers to the melting process. Without Wootz, there wouldn't be Damascus steel thanks to its carbide particles. Put simply, these are metallic carbon compounds that give Wootz steel its blend of strength and flexibility. This material is pretty distinctive in the world of metal making, so much so that it took a long time for modern experts to find and recreate the mixture. Like many ancient elements, it's also helped the development of 21st century industry. Wootz steel has inspired materials found in aerospace projects, surgical procedures, and beyond. 22. Incan Stonework. Ashlar masonry is the fascinating technique used by stonemasons of the ancient Incas. Now, it's interesting for a couple of important reasons. The first is the way it creates very strong structures without mortar being used to hold the stone in place. Rather than a sandy paste that glues the pieces together, they rely on incredibly accurate cutting of the stone. This means the bricks, or other materials, can just be slid into position, letting weight distribution take the strain instead of mortar. A famous example of this is the site of Machu Picchu in Peru, constructed in the 15th century. Now, the second reason is the application of ashlar masonry principles to the modern world. You see, ancient Incan stonework wasn't just tough, it was earthquake resistant. Stones shaped in a polygonal way formed a key part of their structures. The shapes are great for absorbing seismic shockwaves, and their building methods were designed to react flexibly to earth tremors. That's an ancient technique which is literally a lifesaver for people wanting to build in certain parts of the world. 21. Ancient mortars. What better way to repair ancient buildings than with ancient materials? While you'd think modern cement and other stuff would be best to help maintain historic sites, actually the opposite is true. The old school mortar you see in Greek and Roman structures has a recipe which helps get rid of damp and mold. It's a breathable substance which doesn't absorb moisture so much as take it in one end and spit it out the other. Amazingly, the volcanic ash in the mortar can also be self-repairing due to calcium carbonate crystals which grow naturally in any gaps that might form in the material over time. The old ways are usually the best, especially when working on things that are really, really old. 20. Ancient Astrolabes. Computers have been used to study the stars for some time, but people are still using ancient instruments such as astrolabes. The design of the astrolabe was first recorded in the Greek and Islamic world 2,000 years ago. It's essentially a calculation device consisting of a disc with a pointer. The disc is marked with coordinates you can read for working out the time and your location, making the astrolabe a must-have item when out at sea and needing to navigate. The principles behind it still stand, meaning modern students can gain an understanding of astronomy through handling recreations of the instrument. This gives them vital hands-on training, which you don't quite get from a complex and impersonal machine. 19. Canning and glass jars. Go to your local store and you'll see a bunch of canned food and stuff in jars. We've been preserving foods in these containers since the 19th century, and we have an unexpected person to thank for the innovation. French warmonger Napoleon Bonaparte got the ball rolling with cans and jars by launching a competition to find new ways of storing food. He wanted to transport supplies in hostile conditions, ensuring his soldiers stayed well fed on the battlefield. It was a confectioner, Nicolas Appert, who came up with the idea of sealing things in jars so they were airtight. Glass was followed by metal, with the tin can being patented by English merchant Peter Durand. Combining heat to destroy bacteria and a sealed container, these guys created a design classic. 18. Mortar and Pestle. It's convenient to grind up food with a machine. However, today's professionals still rely on the good old mortar and pestle. You probably have one in your kitchen as I speak. The design is super straightforward, being a bowl, the mortar, and a tool for pulverizing stuff inside it, the pestle. But where did the names come from? Mortar is from mortarium, a Latin word meaning product of grinding, while pestle is derived from pistillum, or pounding. The design is thousands of years old, and we're aware of this system being used in ancient Egypt, Mesopotamia, and China. We just don't know who exactly invented it, just that it's one of the most useful things to have in your kitchen. It's said to grind more effectively and consistently than modern technology can handle. 17. Bamboo tools. There's more to bamboo than meets the eye. It isn't just something you use as a cane or for, pandas to chew on. There's a long history of bamboo as building material, and so much more. It's both strong and flexible due to the fact that it has a hollow center. It also has a bioagent that works to fight bacteria, so it's practical and hygienic. That makes it perfect for crafting tools like fishing rods. It isn't a stretch of the imagination to see how a length of bamboo could become a rod. However, did you know bamboo has also been used for surgical instruments? That was certainly the case in historical times. The material lent itself to light surgery where minimal cutting is required. When you're done with them, you can just throw them away, as they biodegrade on their own, unlike the plastic and metal counterparts. 16. Wood-fired brick ovens. When wood meets brick, you get one of the world's best ovens. Capable of reaching temperatures of up to 800 degrees Fahrenheit, this cooking technique has been around for centuries. Ancient Egyptians used them, and so did the Greeks and Romans. What you get with a wood-fired brick oven is consistency. Food is cooked well and evenly, which isn't always possible with modern ovens, where the edges can easily burn. Today, you see them in pizza restaurants and other places where a high standard of cooking is needed. 15. Fermentation. We don't know who discovered the business of fermentation, however, it's still helping us stay healthy in the 21st century. Fermentation is an ancient process, where microorganisms work to preserve food. Bacteria and yeast are added to things that would otherwise turn bad much quicker. These organisms take the sugar and starch in a food and turn them into alcohol and acid, meaning they last longer and also taste different. One example is sauerkraut, which many think is German but actually began in ancient China. That takes cabbage and makes it super sour with lactic acid bacteria. Some favor the richness that fermentation produces in food, and the bacteria works well with your digestion. You have natural gut bacteria inside you anyway. Plus, you're probably familiar with the idea through various probiotic products on our shelves. These owe their success to the ancient art of fermentation. 14. Seals and stamps. It's all about the emails these days, with cybersecurity solutions to keep them safe. That said, Old school letters used to have an innovative method of stopping unauthorized readers. This was the wax seal, or stamp, and it goes back to ancient times. Hot wax was dribbled onto the folded communication before a stamp was pushed onto the wax to seal it. This stamp had its own marker showing you the document was official and not to be interfered with. They're more of an aesthetic thing these days, but they definitely have a charm you just don't get with a ping in your inbox. 13. Flags. Flags weren't always made of cloth. For example, there's one from ancient Iran that's over 2,000 years old and made of bronze. It's called the Standard of Shaddad and is the oldest known flag-like artifact in existence. Various changes and purposes have been applied in the centuries since. The ancient Chinese are known to have used fabric for flags, with the innovation further evolving in the Middle Ages. The flags became associated with military power, which further developed into the powerful symbols of identity we know today. Some take them seriously, others don't, but they'll continue to fly for years to come. 12. Maps. What are you going to do if you're taking a hike in the wilderness and your phone dies, or you can't get a GPS signal? Well, you rely on a piece of paper that previous civilizations spent centuries consulting when working out where to go. A physical map is an item that's still in demand centuries after it was invented. It's one of those things that goes so far back we don't have an exact idea of who was responsible for it. In terms of the first ever world map, that is credited to figures such as the Greek philosopher Anaximander, who was around 600 BCE. He thought the world was a cylinder, which I guess isn't too far off. The basic idea extended from navigating the globe to finding your way around a mall. Paper maps beat Google Maps whenever it comes to reliability. Unless, of course, there's a strong wind, in which case, good luck. 11. Hourglass. It doesn't get much more old school than an hourglass. This device is often made of wood with a glass structure inside containing sand. But where did it come from? It's thought to have been used in the 14th century, though it could be way older than that. You'll find them on ships where they were handy for navigation, plus churches and also business premises. Back in the day, they were a major innovation due to their portability. Your alternative was to drag a sundial around or trek to your nearest water clock. As for the 21st century, hourglasses are a relic of a bygone era. However, people still have them and find them useful. There's one at IKEA I've been meaning to buy. I just haven't pulled the trigger yet. 10. Bell towers. What do you think of when you hear the sound of a bell tower? It could be signaling a particular time of day, but maybe you don't understand the overall significance. In the time before social media, bell towers unified people and let them know when certain things were happening. The concept is believed to have started out in medieval Europe, where it rang out over emergency situations, not to mention more everyday stuff like religious occasions or community meetings. The tradition continues today in many historic towns and villages, though it's likely a lot of folk don't pay much attention to its call. 9. Compass. Compasses rely on magnetic forces to work out direction, which makes them sound more like a modern innovation. Actually, the idea came out of ancient China. In approximately the 2nd century BCE, the time of the Han Dynasty, basic compasses proved groundbreaking in terms of navigation. Some were just a single magnetized needle placed in water. How did they magnetize it? They rubbed the needle against a lodestone or magnetic rock. The lodestone itself was also used as a compass in some cases. These were fairly easy to take on board a ship, though the development of the self-contained dry compass in the 13th century made the process a lot smoother. Later versions contained liquid and were further refined in the 30s. They remain essential for camping trips and the like, though smartphones have access to a range of directional services and apps. Got a compass right on the watch, which is somewhere over... I don't know where. 8. Water wheels. The wheel was arguably humankind's greatest innovation. However, it was designed for use on land. Wheels on the water came later, and when they did, it changed the game for mechanical and hydroelectric power. The ancient Greeks and Romans had water wheels, which provided an endless supply of natural energy for their industries. You could say wheels made the world go round, whether churning up water or being part of machinery. A good use of the water wheel today is as an environmentally friendly system for generating power. Water wheels were overtaken by other technologies, but we have much to learn from them hundreds of years later. 7. Lock and key mechanism. The ancient Egyptians have a ton of secrets, and some of those were kept under lock and key. They developed the first ever system for securing property a few thousand years ago. Everything was made of wood, with the key designed to elevate pins, allowing the owner access after all of them had been lifted. It was the Romans who introduced metal into the mix, resulting in the modern-day locks and keys that are relied upon in a variety of situations, from protecting a bank to locking your door at night. While the materials changed, the essential idea stayed the same. 6. Stethoscope. Long before non-invasive procedures, when you had to open a body up to work out what was going on with the vital organs, the stethoscope appeared. The year was 1816. René Laennec, a French doctor, began using a wooden tube through which he could amplify noises happening inside his patients' bodies. Over time, this developed into the classic stethoscope design of a tube with a chest piece on one end and earplugs on the other. By the way, you may not know that the chest piece is double-sided. The wide flat side is a diaphragm which picks up high-frequency noises, and the other side is the bell for low frequencies. Typically, stethoscopes are connected with heartbeats, but they're actually used to listen to all kinds of sounds emanating from inside. A doctor's surgery wouldn't be complete without this old-school device. 5. Mechanical watches. The mechanical clock was a game-changer, and it was only a matter of time before that innovation became portable. Between the 14th and 17th centuries, craftsmen worked on the design that fed into our modern-day timepieces. Mechanical watches go back to the early 1500s, where German locksmith Peter Heinlein made some of the first examples. The earliest mechanical watches could be carried around, but not on the wrist. They used to be put on chains and fitted neatly into your pocket. Interestingly, they could only tell time by the hour instead of minutes, with just one hand being fitted into the mechanism. As for wrist straps, they became a thing in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. There was a demand for portable watches that people could wear without worrying about them falling off. The wristwatch was ideal for military personnel who were constantly on the move and needed to know the time regularly and reliably. Also, Irish wristwatch. Go ahead and say that tongue twister. Irish wristwatch. 4. Hand tools. Probably the best example of an old-school innovation that's lasted the distance is a hand tool. These were developed in the prehistoric era, and with them came the foundations of modern humanity. Our instinct to create and build things inspired the invention of handheld tools, such as hammers, saws, axes, and more. Different civilizations brought different materials to the table, with stone giving way to wood and metal. There is no better tribute to the ingenuity of those toolmakers and pioneers than the sight of thousands of hardware stores where we routinely go to pick up supplies for DIY projects. Even if you don't like doing manual work, you'll still have used a tool in your daily life. I mean, you must have opened a can with a can opener, right? They're almost part of our DNA, whether you like it or not. More IKEA for the win. This video is not sponsored by IKEA. Although IKEA, if you're listening. 3. Wooden musical instruments. What's the best material for making musical instruments? Some say an instrument is only as good as its player, which then in my case, every instrument sucks. While others believe wood to be the standout choice for discerning flute blowers and ivory tinklers. Wood has been readily available for centuries, so in a way, people were always inclined to craft things from it. However, musicians love wood due to the acoustic qualities it possesses. It has a powerful effect on sound waves, absorbing, diffusing, and reflecting them. Even today, the sight of a wooden violin looks classier than instruments built using anything else. No wonder people appreciate it in concerts and through earbuds centuries later. 2. Paper. Paper is all around us, which is great for a medium that started in China in the 2nd century. It wasn't always the smooth product we buy in reams, though. Legend has it that imperial official Cai Lun produced it not with wood, but plant fibers. The ingredients list is eye-opening. Mulberry, hemp, rags, and fishnets. Yeah, it was a real mix of materials, but it formed the basis of a world-spanning innovation. planet hasn't gone paperless yet. Plus, experts advise you to keep physical copies of documents in case of emergencies. Natural disasters have a nasty habit of taking out the internet, leaving you without vital information like insurance documents. Paper is still an essential part of our lives today. 1. Optical telescopes. Early civilizations looked up at the sky, but couldn't get close to it as there were, no airplanes. Luckily, the optical telescope was invented, enabling people to see the stars close up thanks to a combination of reflective lenses and mirrors. Refraction is where light is bent and its speed is altered. There are 2 lenses in an optical telescope. The first one captures the object, showing it as upside down. Then the second lens magnifies what the first lens is picking up. The optical telescope was further enhanced with the use of mirrors, helping it to gather and focus more light. This innovation dates back to 1608 and the work of people like Hans Lippershey, a spectacle maker who was part German, part Dutch. When he published his design, it drew the attention of Galileo, who produced a refined version. It's an innovation we've kept our eyes on ever since. Now hang your head in shame, modern technology. Oh, who am I kidding? I can't stay mad at you. So, which was your favorite piece of old school tech? Let me know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, you'll love one of our classic videos, 25 pieces of modern technology that are actually ancient. Don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe like I said earlier, and I'll catch you soon for another list. See ya.